Hey folks, you're tuned into the MMA Heat podcast. Alan and I are going to be talking about UFC 248 on this show, so make sure you stay here and check it out. I'm Karyn. Bryant's been part of MMA Heat. Wade and I actually created MMA Heat back in 2007. So I've had this channel and this website for a very long time. Also been an anchor with the UFC since 2012. And this is my co-host.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban here. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm a UFC fighter. Been in the UFC since 2014, I think it was. Kind of going on a little while now. And as Karyn said, we've been doing this show for quite a while together as well for a couple of years. So if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Glad to join the party finally. Subscribe, click, like, all the good stuff. And we're going to have some good content always coming at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Alan, before we do get into the 248 stuff, I feel like we need to address this coronavirus. You and I were talking about this beforehand. I still have a lot of travel for work. I'm going. I'm not too worried about it. My doctor, I was at a doctor's appointment the other day with my daughter. She's going places. One of her doctor friends is going to Costa Rica. You know, just be smart. Be clean. Wash your hands. Don't touch a lot of stuff. But I'm bummed to hear that for you, it is affecting your life a little bit more, huh?
Yeah. We're taking a little bit more cautious measures because we were going on a cruise. And right now, if you're watching the news, the one thing the government is really stressing, issuing a warning, do not go on a cruise. Do not go on a cruise. It's one thing to go on a long flight. Could be a little bit scary, but as Karyn said, you can wipe everything down, put on some gloves, keep your hands to yourself, wear a jacket, and just sleep in your hoodie, and be pretty safe, especially with the new filters they're putting on planes. And everyone seems to be kind of cleaning up a little bit more after themselves, so it's helping. But when you're on a cruise and you're there for a week and you're sharing items and stuff like that, if somebody's on a cruise, the thing is, I don't want to get infected, but I also don't want to get quarantined. I don't want to be stuck at sea in a 10 by 10 cruise room and stuck at sea for 2 weeks, and then I can't do anything. So we had to cancel the cruise for spring break, and we'll just find something else to do. But yeah, it's crazy times right now. Being in California as well, where California is now under one of the states that's under a state of emergency, and they're finding people that have been affected by the coronavirus at LAX, at the airport. So it's kind of like travel at your own risk, but if you do so, as Karyn said, we just got to be safe and clean up. So good luck to you and all your travel. I'll be at home watching the news.
Well, I was going to say, if people are quarantined or sitting there, hopefully they're enjoying this show. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too is, obviously it affects people of different ages and compromised systems and all that. It's definitely scary. It totally sucks. So it's one of those things where I want to keep watching the news about it, but at the same time, I don't want to keep watching the news about it. It's annoying. It sucks. But I'm glad that, I'm not glad that you don't have your vacation, but I'm glad that you guys at least were able to make a choice and didn't get stuck on a boat for weeks and weeks and weeks. That would have sucked.
No, I would have lost my mind. Every time me and my wife see that, she goes, babe, what would you do stuck sitting in a room? It's like being in jail. You would go nuts. No windows or whatever. We had a window, but I don't want to be on a ship for 2 weeks.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
All right, Alan. Well, let's get into it. UFC 248, 2 title fights. Which one do you want to start with, the main or the co-main?
Well, you know what? Let's get into the co-main because that was the most exciting fight, not only on the card, but the year and possibly ever when it comes to women. So I'll let you kick it off. Let's get in that co-main event.
Okay, so the champ, Zhang Weili, versus the former champ, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Before this fight, you and I had both thought if Joanna was going to win, it was going to be on points. And if Zhang Weili won, it might have been a TKO or something, right? Like a ground and pound type of thing. So for me, when the fight started going, at first I was sort of like, it seemed like Joanna was in control a little bit more to me. Like, to me, the story of the fight was Zhang Weili landing more power, but Joanna landing more, right? And to me, she seemed to be in control of a few of the rounds. I really thought, I guess it was maybe 2 and 3. She seemed to really get her groove. And it seemed to me that Joanna was really turning things up. And yet again, though, like I said, all the power seemed to be coming from Zhang Weili, and it seemed like a lot of her her countering was very powerful. And then, Joanna would pow, 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 bam, then take something very serious. So I thought a very equal fight, a very balanced fight. But at the end, I actually did say, I think we're going to have and knew. It looked to me that Joanna had done enough. But at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, did I almost prejudice myself by thinking, hey, if it goes the distance, Joanna's probably going to win, right? And so I don't know if I psyched myself out. I honestly didn't have a dog in the fight. It just, in the moment, to me, it looked like Joanna had won. Split decision win for the champ. I don't think it was a robbery. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that too, because when you looked at the damage, then Joanna did look like she lost. So that's how I went on it.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I had it the same way.
Yeah.
And I was, lately we've been seeing this reoccurrence of fights where we're really unsure at the end of the day. And it was another one like this. During the broadcast, DC kept saying, I really don't know how to score this.
Right.
And up until the third round, I was thinking, well, what are you not seeing, DC? I gave Joanna the first. I gave Weili the second.
Right.
And I gave Joanna the third.
Right.
After that, it got a little hairy. Maybe Weili the fourth, and I'm not quite sure on the fifth.
Yeah.
But I went to the scorecards thinking that Joanna did enough. Yes, she was battered. Yes, her head was swollen. But she had some rounds in the bag, especially round number 3. Round number 3 was the round. If you remember, she made that smart championship type of adjustment. She went southpaw. She changed her stance to southpaw stance in the third round and was landing. That straight left hand was landing down the pipe. That left kick was landing to the body and the leg. And Weili Zhang didn't have an answer for that in the third round. So that was a great adjustment by Joanna, and she looked super comfortable making that southpaw stance. After that, Weili was able to come back and make an adjustment of her own going into the fourth round. So it became kind of a pick-em fight going into it, but I thought that Joanna did do enough in those earlier rounds to get the decision. It didn't go her way. I was a bit surprised that Joanna did not contest it a little bit more, that she was not as upset. But honestly, I truly feel that her head was so swollen, and she was a bit embarrassed with all the cameras on her.
Yeah,
you can see
maybe.
She kind of didn't want to contest it or have any more lights on her, because she kind of was embarrassed about the way that her face looked at the time.
Yeah, that I can believe that, and that I mean, that was tough. I mean, these women are both just total warriors, and I was very, very, very impressed with Joanna's takedown defense. I thought she did a lot of really nice work against the cage. There was a couple times where she was able to reverse position when Zhang had her up and turned her around. She got some good knees in there. So I there was a lot that I was impressed with Joanna. But obviously also with the champion. I mean, this woman is a total beat. Like, she didn't slow down either, really. A little bit some, but still had a lot of power to give. And I actually think that in the end it was Joanna. Zhang Weili came back a little bit stronger at the end for me. I just want to look at the scorecards here, because so round 3. 2 judges gave round 3 to the champ. Round 5. Two judges gave round 5 to the champ.
Gotcha.
1 judge gave it to Joanna. And I'm trying to think. 2 judges gave round 4 to the champ. 1 to Joanna. But round 3, everybody gave that one to Joanna. So that's the one that we were saying really came on strong. So it's 1 and 2 that are dicey, right? 1 judge gave. 2 judges gave the first round to the champ.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with that. I thought Joanna was kind of like...
I thought Joanna won the first couple, and then...
Yeah, and when Weili would land in the first round, Joanna kind of shook it off. She stayed in the pocket. She kind of smiled. That didn't do anything and stayed. I thought she applied much more pressure and landed quantity a lot more in the first round. But, like I said, these are all very close rounds.
Yeah.
None of it was a robbery, I agree.
Yeah, it's really close. It's like, just to read it, it's like, 1 judge gave rounds 1, 4, and 5 to the champ. 1 judge gave rounds 2, 4, and 5 to the champ. 1 judge gave round 2, 1 and 2 to the champ. So people were seeing all different things.
It's I love that you post these scorecards, because when you look at them and then you compare it to the notes you may have taken on your own,
right?
It's such a guessing game, and you really don't know what. People are seeing things so differently. And judges are maybe have somewhat of a favorite in their mind, or they maybe are looking at the damage, but things are so twisted right now in the sport of MMA. And this is something I want to get into maybe after we break down both of these fights. But you really, when it goes to the judges right now, it's more foggy than it's ever been in the sport at this time.
Yeah, and it is hard too on a split decision win, and that's why I was just, people on social media obviously are pretty opinionated on social media. Wow, imagine that. But to me, it seemed funny when people were screaming, Joanna was robbed or this or that. Like, I don't think she was robbed. I think it was an incredibly close fight. I mean, maybe it just means it's one of those things where we run it back. I think there have been far greater robberies lately than that one. But to their credit, both of that was an incredible fight. And here's the thing, though. Now, when you look at Joanna and Zhang Weili, maybe they just run it back again and have a rematch. I'm not really sure. But Zhang, as a champion now, is looking more and more dynamic and awesome as a champion. A lot of people obviously couldn't get past Joanna. So now it does make you wonder how long the champ could reign. Yeah, no,
she looked very impressive. When you think about the beginning of Weili Zhang's career, not career, but her UFC career, rather. She fought one of my teammates, Danielle Taylor.
Right.
And that fight went to a decision, and neither woman really took too much damage. But you could tell that Weili Zhang she was good. She was very good at keeping the distance and looking for counter shots, and she had a power about her. And she was kind of able to offset Danielle Taylor, my teammate, who's a very explosive fighter herself, and very powerful fighter herself. But since her debut, or whichever fight that was for Weili, that was her first or second fight in the UFC. Since then, to the evolution of her game in the UFC, to this fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, which is, as been brought out already, pointed out, one of the best fights we've ever seen. If you're new to MMA and you want to just see an action-packed fight the entire time, this is the fight. This is the fight. When we do these lists now, Karyn, and they say, what was one of the funnest fights, the best fights? This fight will always be on that list. It's going to be in the top 5 for quite a while, because even with the men sometimes pose more danger because there's more at stake. There's more at risk because there's that much power behind it. But you can't have men trading 200-300 strikes per round in the pocket because somebody would go out. But these women, these 115-pound women with superior technique and hearts and toughness and skill, they could sit on the pocket and they could put on a show like this that just blew all of our minds and had us at the end of the fight just mind blown about what just happened. So I love that we have this division. I love that this division is getting so much stronger. I applaud both women. Like I said, I had it going the other way, but it was such a brave fight by both women that you can't be disappointed at the very end of it.
Absolutely. It was an incredible fight for them. And also, I don't want people to think that, like I said, that it was anything prejudicial going, oh, the champ lost it. I think she's an awesome champ. I was in China when she won. I was sitting octagon side. It blew my mind. That is an incredible woman. That is an incredible athlete. I was floored. So, it really isn't a judgment call about these fighters as fighters or women or anything like that. Just in the moment, I thought that Joanna had won. But I'll watch that fight all day, every day, right? And I also love the fact that people are saying, it's not just a great fight in women's history, that we're saying it's just a great fight in history 100%. Of MMA, which it totally was. Yesterday being International Women's Day, you got a woman from Poland, a woman from China throwing down, representing for all women out there. And to your point, yes, the men get to throw bombs and get more knockouts and things like that. But for us, when we get to see a fight like that, women, living vicariously through that, and that to me is such a great display of not only just the sport and the skill set, but afterwards they were so cool with each other. We know beforehand there were some jokes about the Corona stuff, and maybe some of it was lost in translation, and maybe some of it was, Joanna is feisty when she's before a fight. She does like to talk some crap, but the sportsmanship played out at the end. It was just all great. I just loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Can we talk real quickly about the translator?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! It's such a big moment. Oh my God! I'm kind of freaking out right now.
What was going on with this guy? He was so excited. I think somebody told me there is a backstory to it, so I apologize. I think the guy might have been brought in last minute or something. Okay. He's not the normal fight translator. I think it was something else. Because of the travel, he came in last minute to help out, possibly. Whatever it is, you got one job to do, man. Whatever she says in Mandarin, you translate it to Joe Rogan in English. That's all you got to do right there, man. Weili Zhang was talking, and then Joe puts the mic on him, and he was a deer in headlights. He couldn't. I was just like, Joe, let's wrap this up, brother. No more questions, please. This guy is making it so awkward right now, but he was it's like he was stealing her moment. He's like, this is a big moment. I'm sorry. It was hilarious though. It was a funny moment to watch.
It was, in fact, actually. We pulled that up. I made Wade because, he didn't see it because it was. I forgot. I meant to say it's at the top of the show. Everybody has to wish Wade a happy birthday. His birthday was on Friday.
Happy birthday again, man.
Wade's the one who puts everything together here, so this show wouldn't be up online anywhere if it weren't for him. So happy birthday to the hubby. But he was out in Vegas, and so they were doing some other stuff. But so I was like, dude, you have to see the part about the translator. So we found it online and pulled it up, and the guy my favorite Joe's like, pull yourself together, man.
Yeah.
Pull yourself together, man. I thought that was adorable. I mean, it was great. You could see the guy was totally excited.
Did you also catch this, Karyn? Last thing on this fight. During the walkout, did you see her entire walkout, Weili Zhang's walkout?
I saw most. Well, I think so.
Well, maybe this will remind you of something that you caught, or maybe not. Maybe the fans were picked up on this. But during the walkout, when they start in the tunnel, and they're usually walking through the tunnel before they kind of open the curtains and come out into the arena. I could not help but notice her coach. Her coach seemed to be stealing the spotlight as well. And when Weili was walking, her coach was walking in front of her. Just his shoulder was in front, and he was kind of trying to take the attention. And it made it very awkward because when somebody's in front of the fighter, when the camera's trying to get that fighter shot, it makes it very weird. And then after like 30 seconds of that, you see her to her coach. She whispers something, and then he kind of falls behind. And I know I tweeted it out. I believe I said I don't speak Mandarin, and she whispered this to him. But I'm pretty sure she said, "Yo, back the hell up. This is my moment. Let me absorb this energy right now. Let the camera get focused on me. Let me have my moment." The coach was just trying to steal the spotlight again. It was some weird things happening in the beginning and end of that fight, but the fight itself, one of the best ever. It was a fun moment though.
It was awesome, and I remember too, and partly I'm sure with the moment thing. Yes, she wants to drink it in because after the fight in China when she won, I remember talking to Dana about it, and he said, "No, we're bringing her to Vegas. We need this woman to be seen in the States. She's a star." He was so excited about the possibilities, the future with Weili, and so for real, for sure, I'm sure she's. Wait a minute, this is my debut in the States.
Yeah.
Get up,
back on up, man. Back on up. Yeah.
The champ. Well, good for her. She is awesome. And, also for Joanna, just an incredible fight. Maybe they'll run it back again. I don't know, but it was absolutely legendary. So congratulations to both women.
Absolutely.
Alan, I have to ask you now what your opinion is about the main event. We had an and still in the main event and the co-main event. Israel Adesanya retaining the title against Yoel Romero, who for the first, 2 minutes, just kind of stood like this. It was a weird fight. As soon as it started like that, I was like, oh no, what is happening right now? Israel retained the title. I don't have any issues with him being the winner in this fight. I just have issues with it being a very odd fight that, underwhelmed, I suppose.
Very underwhelming, especially when you're coming off of one of the greatest fights of all time in the co-main event. Yeah. And then the highly, highly, highly anticipated main event comes, Israel against Yoel, the back and forth. We wanted to see what was going to happen. Yoel was known for being such a scary fighter. Israel, he's an entertainer. Mm-hmm. And so he wants to go out there and entertain, and nothing about that fight was entertaining. It was very slow in getting started. Yeah. But I got to say, Yoel has a way of doing that in fights. He's notorious for it. If you remember years ago, when the stool incident, when Yoel's corner gave him extra time after he got hurt. And he's done that numerous times in other fights where he kind of plays possum. He was playing possum. I've got to say this, though. Going to the scorecards, going into the fifth round, let me back this up a minute. Going into the fifth round, I definitely had, first of all, the first 2 rounds for Yoel. As weird as it was, Izzy didn't do anything the first 2 rounds. He threw he maybe threw 2 or 3 leg kicks the first round, a couple more the second round. At that point, there was really no damage on Yoel's leg. Yoel landed that big overhand left in the first round, again in the second round, and took him down in the second round. And so even though there wasn't a lot of action, if we're looking at power shots or I wouldn't say aggression, but damage,
right?
I definitely gave it to Yoel. So it was a weird fight, but going into the third, I go, this is really odd, but Yoel's up 2 rounds right now. Does Izzy know that? I gave Izzy the third and the fourth. So going into the fifth round, as weird of a fight it was, and it seemed like there wasn't a lot of damage, and Yoel's leg was starting to swell up, and Izzy had a little bit of hematoma, a little bit of a bump above his eye. I had it 2-2, so it came down to the 5th and final round, and it was a really tough round for me to score. But the last 30 seconds kind of, to me, told the story a little bit more, which was Yoel getting a little more aggressive. He was backing Izzy up. And so I go, man, this doesn't make any sense, but I think Yoel might have just won. I have no problem with the decision because, to me, to hand the belt from Izzy to Yoel from that type of performance would not have made any sense. So I was actually happy with the decision. But if I was a judge and I scored 2-2 going into the 5th, I think I might have scored the 5th round for Yoel just because that last 30 seconds of aggression, and he landed some punches and some kicks right at the bell, where Izzy was just kind of chipping away at the leg. And I'm a leg kicker. I'm going to wrap this up right now. I'm a leg kicker. And there was on the surface there was damage, but we didn't see him limping. We didn't see him changing stances. We didn't see him protecting it. So I can't score the damage too high. It didn't take him off balance with the kicks. It didn't knock him down. He didn't have to protect it. So I scored Yoel Romero's overhand lefts and the flurries and the kicks that he scored higher than Izzy's 5th round kicks to the leg. 3rd and 4th round, I thought he had more. But at the end of the day, it was another fight that left us guessing. We really don't know. We don't have a decisive answer to who won that fight. But I was fine with Izzy retaining the belt because it did not make sense for Yoel to win that belt in such an odd fight.
I agree with you that I think it would have been strange to give him the title after that fight. Yeah. I just want to look at so you gave the first 2 to Yoel, you said, right?
I thought the first 2 were pretty clear to Yoel. Well, at least the first round for sure.
Well, all three judges gave Yoel the first round.
Okay.
And then 2 judges gave Yoel the second round.
All right. We're seeing the same way.
Yeah, judges. So 2 judges agreed with you, and then so they gave 2 judges gave Yoel the first 2 and Israel the last 3. The other judge gave only the first round to Yoel, the last 4 to Israel.
Gotcha.
So
which I can see.
Yeah, so for me, I agree with you at the beginning. To me, as odd as it was, Yoel did win that first round, as like you said, because even though he just waited and waited, when he finally did strike something, he actually would connect. Some of the time.
He fell backwards.
Exactly.
Landed.
Right, and that's what was so strange about this fight was there was such little amounts of activity, but when they were, you could see that Yoel would land, and Israel's like, yep, nope, don't want any more of that. Smart. Yeah. Why would you?
Right.
Potential for getting knocked out is so there. So while people are critiquing him and saying Israel ran, I don't think he ran. I think he
ran either.
Stuck and moved. And like you said, the leg kicks, they did add up, even though Yoel was salsa dancing at the presser after saying that he was fine. Israel did what he needed to do to at least, do something. It was a weird fight. It's a really weird fight. And both guys at the end coming in saying, this guy didn't show up to fight me. Well, you both kind of came with a weird plan, and
it's both their fault. Exactly. It's both their fault.
Right. Yeah. So while I actually do think more of the burden, though, was on Yoel to try to do something. As the champion, I would think that, you want this title, you want this belt, come and take it.
Yeah.
I understand that as a champion, sometimes people's mentality is, well, I need to go earn this title again. And so therefore maybe they would go all out. But in my mind, in that one, it's Israel is the champion. He said he wants to face the toughest people. Yoel is reportedly the toughest person, and Yoel is saying I'm the toughest person. Then for you to show up and not actively just full on go for it so much seemed a little disappointing to me.
Yoel has the thing about him that he doesn't fight traditional way. He knows he's a very powerful, explosive person. And when you have that in your back pocket, it allows you to do other things. It allows you to say, you know what, I'm going to go high guard and I'm going to act like I'm not looking. I do the same thing sometimes where I'll look down, I'll look at people's feet, and I'll get them to kind of come 6 inches closer to me. That way I can explode up. Yeah. It's little tricks like that. Yoel's just a freak of nature. And so he does these things. He goes, I can get away with doing these odd things because I can cover distance so fast. I can explode on you so fast, or I can take you down. And so he plays that game. But he has to know, like you're saying, if you're going to play that game, you're going to put a smart dance partner at risk of not wanting to commit because he knows what you're thinking. And Izzy's a very smart fighter. On the other hand, I do think that Izzy had some openings to go into the pocket, at least throw some teeps, some push kicks. That first round, Izzy didn't throw barely anything. He was so cautious of it. So am I faulting him for that? No. But Izzy did have opportunities. He goes, he didn't want to dance. Well, Izzy didn't really want to dance either, because you have to kind of put yourself at risk sometimes, and it sucks. So I don't blame either guy. It was an odd fight. Like I said, when I scored it, I go, for some reason, I have Yoel winning, ? But when Izzy retained the belt, it made sense, because what are we going to see? A rematch now between Yoel and Bohashinya? No, we want to see the highly anticipated Bohashinya versus Izzy, and to take that belt away from him wouldn't have made sense at the time. So I was fine with it. Just a very weird fight to score.
And it got weird for me too, because I sat there. It seemed like lather, rinse, repeat, right? Because as the fight went on, I was like, this is the same round over and over. Also, it felt very repetitive.
Yeah. Well, I saw Izzy picking up the momentum. Obviously, the third and fourth, we said he won. Yeah. And that's when he started landing those kicks more decisively and throwing other things. But it was a weird one. And so the thing that I'm starting to see a lot more now, Karyn, is think about the fights that we've had just this year. Yeah. John Jones, Dominic Reyes, tough one to score. Yeah. Hooker versus Paul Felder, another tough one to score. Both of these fights, the co-main event and the main event on the card that we just watched, another one that is tough to score. And what I thought about this last night, what is happening here? And I've come to the conclusion that the sport is starting to catch up with itself. The fighters are catching up with the sport. Everyone's becoming much more well-rounded. And we have to change the scoring system again. We've seen this over the years. Now and then we'll implement certain things where we tweak the way that we score fights. And then we have the new judging system. Is it more damage or whatnot? It's time to do it again, I believe, because the fighters are getting so good. Everybody's so well-rounded that before, a couple of years ago, you would see guys, and even if someone was the better wrestler, they would be able to apply that. And they go, okay, 30 seconds left, get that last-minute takedown. That wins the fight. Now, even if you're not an All-American wrestler, guys are getting good at getting back up to their feet, scrambling up to their feet. We've seen it. John Jones take Reyes down, Reyes gets right back up. The Paul Felder-Hooker fight, Paul Felder gets back up. The same thing, Joanna, Jacek, the same thing with Yoel Romero. Romero takes him down, Izzy gets right back up. It's harder to have these takedown, 30 seconds, 1 minute, holding a guy down, beating them up. It's not happening anymore. Guys are contesting the fight on the feet, and then they're getting takedowns and getting right back up, and we don't know how to score it anymore. So it just shows that everyone is getting better. Everyone is getting well-rounded everywhere, and even the guys that aren't trying to take you down, let's use Izzy as an example, he's so good at not being held down that he's making you fight him in his area, and it's making it harder to score fights because we don't have as many finishes now because guys aren't as dominant in that one area. I don't want to get into the whole scoring system argument that takes too long, but it's just actually I applaud the athletes right now because everyone seems to be growing with the sport, but it's making these decisions much harder. I can't ever remember 4 of the biggest fights of the year so far being so closely contested and being such split sides where everybody's saying this was a robbery, this was a robbery. It's because it's really hard to score with only 3 judges.
It's incredibly hard to score, and I know the Invicta card had some open scoring on Friday. Curious to see what people thought of that, or I actually should see what the athletes thought of that too, because I would imagine, in other sports, whatever, we're having this conversation. In other sports, obviously, you know what the score is. And in baseball, wow, shoot, we're down 4. Wow, Grand Slam would be pretty dope right about now. Wouldn't that be great? Hey, let's rally, guys. Exactly. Let's go. Let's get some hot sticks. Let's go. Right? It seems to me that it would be beneficial in fighting to know, Alan, dude, right now, bro, we're down 2 rounds, bro. You got to turn it up. Or and the converse of that, I know people say that, if I told you, Alan, you're up 2 rounds, that you're just going to dance around for the last one and not get hit. I understand that critique. I don't necessarily know if I agree with it because guess what? If the other person across the octagon knows they're down 2 rounds, they're not going to let you just run from them from a whole round because they're going to be chasing, you're going to have to engage because this other person is going to be coming at you fired up. So to me, I granted, I'm not the one in there, but to me, I don't necessarily see how open scoring would be a deterrent to action. I think it would inspire people.
With majority of every rule change that we try to implement, there's going to be the pros and the cons, and you just said it. So there would be some cons of guys that say, you know what, I'm ahead, let me play safe. But there's going to be more pros to it from people knowing that they need to go, especially when we have these 2-2, when it's 10-9, 10-9,
Right.
and the last round is up for grabs.
Right.
Which almost every one of these fights I had it 2-2
Yes.
going into the 5th round, 2-2, every one of these fights that we just mentioned. So now we have two guys that then go in there and lock horns and try to have a decisive outcome rather than some back and forth and we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It will help the sport. If I can make two changes right now to help the sport, I would agree with you. I would say give us open scoring. There you go. And number 2, I would say give me 5 judges. 3 judges is not enough. The angles, sometimes there's angles, and sometimes there's people that they score one factor. They score the grappling better than the striking, or guys that are coming from a boxing background.
Yep.
Give me more judges so that we have a higher, more accurate percentage. And if I had to do a third one, I'd probably implement the half-point system for these rounds that are a little bit like this. There was more damage done here, but more striking. Which way do I go? Do I just give it to this person? Maybe we can get this, I'll give you a 10 and a 9.5 because it was that close. And then these would help calculate a little bit more accurate scoring system. But again, open scoring, 5 judges, I think that alone would help get the more correct decisions at the end of the day. But these fights have been very close, so we have to find a way to really dissect these fights in an accurate way.
Agree with you, and the 5 judges thing could be great. And I would even say, to add on to that 2 of the judges are just backstage watching on TVs without sound or anything, so that they're actually seeing more of the action and they're not influenced by the room. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Agreed. I like it as well.
We fixed it.
Boom.
I know Max Holloway is out there, talking a lot about the scoring. And I feel bad for you guys because we have seen, like you said, so many fights lately that have been so close. We've seen more draws, you know what I mean? We've seen fights where you're like, what just happened? And clearly, there have been some draws where you walked away, you're like, I'm pretty sure that dude won. But okay, I don't know. It's hard. And obviously you guys lay so much out there. It's a shame that you don't. It's a shame we don't have a better system yet.
We're hitting a point right now in MMA where we're seeing the same thing occur way too often. So we just something we need to fix. I would love to get on board with some of these minds of MMA and discuss some of these things. With some of the judges, the referees, the people that help do these scoring systems. I'd love to volunteer as a fighter to help the sport grow. But as I said, we're seeing it occur a little bit too much now. Let's make some small adjustments. See how it plays out, make some small adjustments. But we can't just keep the way it is right now where every single huge fight, we're going, I don't know who won. And then it's just up in the air.
Well, Beneil Dariush took the judges out of the equation.
Yes,
absolutely slept that dude. Listen, everybody, if this is the first time watching the podcast, you should know King's MMA, very near and dear to my heart. And Beneil Dariush is just a wonderful, wonderful guy, a very sweet guy. So whenever he wins, it just feels good to see him. He's just a wonderful person outside. You and I have worked with him over on UFC Now. And so for Beneil to come in here and get a knockout victory, he hasn't had a knockout since 2016. I believe it was the James Vick one. He usually gets his finishes by submission. In this fight with Drakkar Klose is the first time Drakkar has been finished. And he just got in there. They were trading. And a couple times I'm screaming. I'm like, Benny, keep your hands up. Because it looked like Benny was going to be the nail and not the hammer. Yeah. They turned around. They trade. All of a sudden, Benny, the southpaw, lands that sweet left. Drakkar goes down, and it was, a walk-off KO. And afterwards, Beneil was talking about the fact that, there's times when we get into it and we start trading. And I just, bite down, and maybe I shouldn't trade. Maybe I should, get out of there. He said, but I'm just the guy that goes in, and I maybe should work on that. But I think that's that King's mentality. When they spar, they go hard. I was very impressed with that, and it was a fun fight for as long as it lasted. But a really just a really wonderful knockout for Beneil.
You talk about a way to get an early fight on the main card, the pay-per-view, to get us going. I mean, I thought, how is this going to be taken? How is this not going to be fight of the night? Give these men some money. It was such only a fight like Joanna and Weili could have topped that to get the fight of the night performance. It was such a great fight. And as you said, Beneil looked like he was about to go out. He was in a world of trouble. He was backing up. He was rattled. But he bit down on his mouthpiece and threw that overhand left, I believe it was, that started it. Backed up Drakkar. And, man, that hook at the end that not only knocked his mouthpiece out, but his eyes rolled up. I mean, he was out. That was a monster hit, a monster comeback. I love the reaction from Joe Rogan and DC and John Anik. They were losing their minds.
Totally.
So was I. A beautiful fight. I would have really loved to see the UFC do a double fight of the night bonus again. I thought that those men deserved it because it was such, it was a much shorter fight. I think it only went into the middle of the second round where the women went 25 minutes. They absolutely deserved their money. Yeah. No doubt about it. But those men probably both went home with a concussion that night. And so I would have liked to see the UFC hand them a bonus as well because that got the pay-per-view popping right there. That was an incredible fight.
Yeah, it did, and Beneil got a bonus for it. He got his $50,000, but I agreed. They didn't get the fight of the night, but yeah, that was awesome. I guess for me, the other thing that really stood out was the return of the Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's been gone a couple of years now. It's crazy, but he came back. Doesn't look like he's missed a step, even evolved even more. This guy's fluid. He's fun to watch. I thought that was great.
He's very smooth, very controlled. That's the thing that jumps out at me when I see Malley. He's very controlled in there, and what I think it is he's got very good control of his body. He's a very long, lanky guy, so he knows he's got a bit of a reach advantage, but more so than that, he seems to have this speed advantage on everyone that he goes against. He seems like such a fast guy, and when you're a long-rangey guy and you throw some speed on there, it's very difficult to deal with when you're the other opponents. And he makes a lot of his opponents look bad, and I wasn't very familiar, I will say, with his opponent. So I don't know his opponent's record or his strengths. But O'Malley went in there and just looked like he was way in another class. So I'd like to see in his future fights, I'd like to see a step up in competition. I think he's proven that the entry-level UFC fighter, and this is nothing derogatory against his opponent, but I'm saying he's somebody that is not knocking on the door of the top 15 right now. I think O'Malley's ready for that division to go and face a little bit more higher-tiered opponent. He had a call-out, actually, from who's the guy that always wear camouflage that was on The Ultimate Fighter from Arkansas? Bryce
Mitchell.
Bryce Mitchell called him out, or at least answered his call. Yeah. And I think that would be an intriguing fight. Bryce Mitchell, he's still new, but he's proven to go in there to be a well-rounded fighter. I think he's got a couple of wins, couple of finishes, too, inside the UFC. I think that would be a gentle step up for O'Malley because Bryce has proven himself.
Yeah, Arkansas in the house. That would be a lot of fun. And actually, you said something there about Sugar Sean and his lankiness. That reminded me of how impressed I was with Neil Magny. Also, his win over the Leech, Li Jingliang, and the Leech has been on a tear lately. We haven't seen Neil in a while, and I admit to forgetting how good Neil was. Not forgetting how good he is, but I all of a sudden was like, oh, okay. I tweeted out in the second round, I was like, Neil just got turned up, because all of us, it did seem like that first, he wasn't quite back to his old self or whatever. In the second round, Neil started coming on, and in that third round, he just took over. He's so good, and I remember, this is a guy that went on like 7-fight unbeaten streak at one point, maybe even more than that in the welterweight division, which is so hard. So to me, that was also just a pleasant surprise, was the return to Neil Magny and how good he looked.
And he looked like he was having fun in there. I mean, when you're winning and you're controlling every area, every aspect of the fight, it does become fun. You're in control. You're able to kind of show off, show the fans how good you are, and he was enjoying himself in there. Neil Magny is probably the most highly called out fighter inside of the UFC. Everyone calls out Neil Magny because he's not that scary looking. He's not a knockout artist. He's not amazing in one specific area, but what he is amazing as, he's good in every area. He's got unbelievable cardio. He's got great reach, great footwork, great distance and timing, and he's good at every area, and he showed that in this fight. Everyone who's been thinking, I'm going to call out Neil Magny over the years and years and years, they're probably taking a step back now, and they're looking and saying, you know what? Neil Magny is a tough fighter. I think he proved that. And I really enjoyed his call-out. I think he did call out Michael Chiesa, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a great call-out.
I think it's a perfect fight for both men. Maybe Chiesa's trying to look higher down the list, but even though he's beaten somebody like Rafael dos Anjos, Magny's the guy that was fighting the top 15 for years and years, and so maybe he lost some momentum being out for a while. But after that type of performance, I see those guys as neck and neck. I'd like to see that fight get made.
Yeah, and body type wise, even the two of them.
Yeah,
I'm curious about it too. As soon as he said that, I thought, oh, that's a good. I like that idea too. Yeah. I like him and Chiesa. Well, speaking of interesting matchups like that, Alan, I'm going to Brazil this weekend. Our main event, Kevin Lee versus Alex Oliveira, which not Charles Oliveira. Sorry, Alex just fought in one on Saturday night. But Charles Oliveira, who I just absolutely love this dude. He's been killing it. He's got the most submissions in the UFC. This guy, I just love his angular face, his elbow, everything. I think Oliveira is such a badass. Then we got us some Kevin Lee, the Motown phenom, who, has had some ups and downs, but after that head kick knockout, like the dude is looking great, and Kevin seems to be, remotivated, maybe kind of fix some things, some distractions in his life. That is the main event, the co-main event, 2 grapplers. It's a grappler's delight. Demian Maia versus Dariush. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for reminding me. I forgot about that. I actually saw on Twitter this morning Dariush was saying fight week, and I was like, oh, is this the fight where him versus Demian Maia? That is going to be a grappler's delight. And then the main event's going to be a fire one as well. When you said Alex Oliveira, I was thinking like the salsa dancing. I was thinking about Cowboy. Like,
right.
No. We're talking about Charles Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira. The
owner of the most submission victories inside of the UFC. Kevin Lee coming off of that huge knockout, I believe, his last fight, that left head kick over the grappler. I'm forgetting it. Yes, so going to be a fun matchup. Are you working that event as well?
Yes, I am. I'm going. Me and my Clorox wipes are getting on a flight on Wednesday morning. But no, I'm actually excited to go back to Brazil. I was in Sao Paulo in November, had a great time there. So really excited to go back to Brazil. I've never been to Brasilia, so it should be interesting. But yeah, that fight between Demian and Dariush, like, I love it and I hate it at the same time. They're both wonderful guys. They're both incredible athletes, obviously. And to me in that one, it's the youth of Dariush, but the savvy of the veteran of Demian. They're both veterans, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting fight. And both of them Brazilian, in Brazil. The crowd, I feel like it'll be interesting to me to find out who they're rooting for, or if it's just one of those where they're just happy that they have 2 of the best in the business doing this. So to me, that's very exciting. Obviously, Kevin Lee is going into enemy territory. Obviously, Kevin Lee will be hearing the chants about how he's going to die. But I just have been such an Oliveira fan for such a long time. Both of them, actually, but the Cowboy. Okay, so by the way, speaking of Cowboy Oliveira, just to back up for a second for UFC 248. So I don't know if you knew this, Alan. You know Cowboy Oliveira already has a lot of children, right?
So, does he? I didn't know that.
He already has 9 children.
What? Cowboy Oliveira has 9 children?
Cowboy Oliveira has 9 children. He's about to have twins. He's about to have twins. Dude is a legend. And there's all these stories about how 4 of the women apparently that he had babies with live on the same street. There's a legend that says that 2 of the moms gave birth on the same day. I'm not sure if all of this is true. I know your face is amazing right now, but Cowboy Oliveira is about as manly as it gets. That was just a side note because I just think it's insane that he's about to have more children. Just insane. But yes, Charles Oliveira.
I don't know what I'm feeling right now, Karyn. Like, normally I'm excited for people, but why do I feel bad for him? I feel bad for him.
It's a lot of kids.
I feel bad for him. Like, 11, he's about to have his 11th child.
This dude's going to have to fight till he's 75 to pay for all those children.
Oh, my God. Oliveira, slow down, man. Slow down. Go get cut or something, my man. Like, chill out, bro. This ain't the 1940s. Like, what are we doing with these, like, 11 children?
He does have farms and stuff. Maybe he's making a farm hands or he's putting together a soccer team. I'm not sure.
He's got 11.
Bless his heart.
That's
but
wild.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And then after that, going to London for Karyn and Leon, which is a week away. So going to be incredible.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say one last little thing.
Yeah.
I love that you gave us a little known fact about Oliveira. We are more educated in the MMA world because of that. And another little fact that kind of came to the surface today was that Bryant Ortega apparently slapped the translator who's like a Korean pop star who was accompanied at the fights that night in Vegas. Both of them were sitting on the floor with the Korean Zombie, and Korean Zombie apparently got up, went to the restroom, and when he was gone, Bryant Ortega walked up and said, "Are you Jay?" I forget his last name.
Jay Park, I think. Yeah.
Jay Park. There you go. And then and slapped him. And after that, a video surfaced of Bryant Ortega being escorted out of the arena right there. So it'll be interesting to see if the Korean Zombie takes legal action on this, and how much it also helps escalate the possible matchup of them. Or is it confirmed that these guys are fighting?
I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet. Yeah, but that's what the story is. And yeah, I've read something from Jason House, who is Korean Zombie's manager. Jason's a great guy, Iridium Sports, and he was talking about, yes, basically, I guess the UFC contacted both Bryant and Korean Zombies teams beforehand and said, hey, look, guys, let's just be cool during the fights. Let's not let anything happen. And according to this thing that I read from Jason, he said, yes, we took that note. We carried ourselves in a professional manner. And yes, this is what happened when Zombie was in the bathroom and, Bryant's team did XYZ. I think they said that authorities were called after the incident. I'm not sure who called them, but I believe that they were called, and I don't know if there's charges being pressed or what have you. But Zombie then said something like, hey, Brian, if you did this in the hopes of building some excitement about a fight with me because nobody remembers your name anymore, well, then you got it, and I'll kick I'll knock you out and then do this, and I'll become the champion and stuff. So Jason and the Zombie, their team very much set on becoming a champion this year, they say, but they then said, yeah, Brian, sure, come bring it. We'll kick your ass and go from there.
It makes a great, a little sizzle reel to promote the fight,
yeah.
But and if you're wondering why did Brian slap him, I don't have any of the details, but what I'm hearing in general is that Jay Park was doing translating some of the Korean Zombie stuff, and apparently something that he said or translated didn't go over well with Brian. Maybe he added a little something to what was said. He didn't like the style that he was said, but whatever was said about Brian, he did not take kindly to it. He showed that he's still got a little bit of that OG in him, even though he's become the kind of pretty boy of the UFC. He still kind of got that gangster mentality in him. But man, I hope he doesn't get in any trouble. Not a great move for Brian, but I get it, man. Somebody says something about you, you take action. But I do hope this fight makes now. I hope they make this fight. I want to see it now. It already was an intriguing fight, but with this kind of backstory now, you can see both men are not going to have a love for one another.
Yeah, it's a great fight, and yeah, they both need to fight again. I mean, we just
yeah. Well, let's just get along.
Let's just get along. All right. Well, so this show is available on MMAheat.com. It is also available as an audio download at MMA.audio. They're also all up on the Karyn Bryant channel on YouTube. You can subscribe there so you don't miss any of them. As Alan mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've been doing this for years, so you can go back and look at a lot of old episodes too, and just catch up on some stuff. But we try to do it every Monday. We have a good time doing it. And if you're enjoying it, maybe leave a comment, tell your friends about it right now, because it's incredible to me that people are like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. I had no idea you've been doing this. And we're like, dude, it's episode 236.
100%. I'm always mind blown by it. We're here after the fights every weekend. We've been doing it for a while. We also do UFC Now on Fight Pass. I've done the desk with Karyn before, Fox, etc. So if you're just tuning in, thank you. But yeah, join up. Leave a comment, get involved. Sometimes we answer some questions from you guys, and we love it. So keep doing it.
That's right. Well, you can find me at Karyn Bryant on Twitter and YouTube. It's KarynBryant, KB Heat over on Instagram. And, of course, we have MMA Heat across the board. Alan, where can people find you?
Yeah, and check me out on social media, guys, at Alan Jouban on all social media platforms.
Well, thank you so much, folks. And next week we'll be talking about Kevin and Charles and Demian and Dariush. So good stuff on the way. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.
Take care, guys.